such a messy room.
I've had to watch that intro gag about 100 times at this point. It is really wearing me down. And you know what else is wearing me down? The fact that it is now the 2-year anniversary of my original gacha video, but nobody has actually been able to critique it. I mean, so much is wrong with it. Not just flaws in my argument and production value, but it's a terrible video. But all the comments, they're so easily refutable. Nobody is able to critique my video properly. So, since I'm the best, I've taken upon myself to do it for you. So I'm going to be critiquing my own gacha video, hopefully to inspire you, gacha tubers, to get a grip and do it yourself. So, let's go through this stupid 2-year-old video, a lesson in animation, why gacha life sucks, and let's do my favorite activity, making fun of toddlers.
I'm so excited about my super weapon that will take over Boom Beach that I wrote a song about it.
So, the way that ThankYouEel structures his video is by bringing up a criticism, explaining it, and then linking it to a related criticism, and so on until he finishes all of his talking points. I'll actually be reading them off of ThankYouEel's original script he wrote before filming, so this video won't be exactly in the same order as ThankYouEel's video, and also, for my own sanity, I'm cutting out any bits about sexual assault. Not because I think he was wrong about those subjects, but I don't think that either he nor I am at all in the position to make any claims about such a dark subject matter. The arguments that he makes are, making YouTube content has to be good.
If you want to make some YouTube content, go ahead and do that. But please, for the love of all things holy, make it good!
Gacha is slow, and the text stays on screen for too long.
I get having text to show words, but have the text to stay there for that long and nothing else happening?
Gacha, as an app, has no ability to use easing in animations.
Going to, because I'd probably get boring once I complain about bloody easing. Will you please ease your videos?
Gacha characters are inherently ugly.
Another point I have against Gachaverse is how ugly the characters look.
Gacha videos are overall lazy, with my reasoning being because there's very little movement outside of dialogue.
I find these videos are just overall lazy. Just look at this video. It's 20 minutes long.
Gacha creators are all of young ages and have just got given the talk and are trying to find ways of dog whistling to their friends that they're in the sex-in crowd.
Also, the video starts with a warning that it's 12 plus.
The reason I used the original script and not the video verbatim was actually because a lot of stuff I cut out, particularly cringy things where I referenced stick figure animations and my own personal OCs, which would have been really embarrassing if I left that in. And also this bit I completely cut out. This is the reasoning behind my statement why being 12 plus is a bad thing. I don't know, read that if you want, but just so you know, that's why I'm saying this was the argument and not just that 12 plus is a funny thing that happens, haha.
Putting the name above a character's head makes the story worse and is the fault of the gacha tuber.
Also, each character has a name above their head, but there are also other names in brackets telling you this character is the king, or the queen, or a senior angel, or a main character, or whatever. And, even more annoying, it tells me the name of the main character before they've been given a name, like in this scene where this baby is called Faith even though the mom hasn't given a name yet. Because introducing your character with good storytelling was just too hard.
Minor inconsistencies and criticisms of the animation style.
I tell you what else I keep noticing. Despite being a school, there aren't that many people. And the main characters often walk around school without shoes. The walking is just teleportation. There are only a dozen or so backgrounds you could choose from, so you don't get a lot of difference between the scenes in each of these videos.
I've split these arguments into a few distinct categories based on how ThankYouEel framed it in the original video. He said that having a character's name above their head was bad, and implied that this was the animator's fault, when really if they were non-removable it would be the app. Regardless, since it was initially framed as the animator's fault, that is how I will be presenting his argument. These are the categories. The fault of the animator. the fault of Lunami, aka the fault of the app, but it was too similar to Animator. And opinionated statements, aka the fault of ThankYouEel. I'm going to go through them category by category, not in order, but I'll refute each one of his arguments, tell you my current opinions on them, why it's wrong, any logical inconsistencies, etc.
Everything she wants when she gets me alone, like it's nothing. She got two little horns and they give me a little bit.
Category 1, the fault of the animator. Gacha is slow and the text stays on screen for too long. I can't believe no Gacha defender in my comment section has actually just pointed out the simple fact that people need time to read. The animation being slow is because Gacha is a reading medium. It's fan fiction, man. It's for 9-year-olds, okay? Go watch anime if you're looking for smooth animation or something. I know it's a scummy argument, but just don't watch it is a valid one if what you're critiquing is an intentional choice by the genre.
There's too much kissing in my rom-com. Stop watching rom-coms then. Like, critique it for, having predictable plot. You don't go critiquing rom-coms for kissing. That's dumb. That's the entire point, dummy.
Gacha videos are overall lazy, with my reasoning being because there's very little movement outside of dialogue. My previous analogy about critiquing rom-coms stands here as well. It's a reading medium, and should be interpreted more as freestanding fanfiction. Fanfiction of the entire anime chibi genre, like 50 Shades fanfiction where it's no longer associated with the original. The videos are overall lazy, but I'll talk about artistic merit in a later point, so I'm just going to ignore that for now. Not all gacha videos are lazy as well. A lot of gacha commenters are quick to point out that actually this one very specific person puts work into it, or these people put work into it, and then they list you like a bunch of subpar gacha animators that aren't even proving their point much. But most gacha tubers aren't going out of their way to cut corners. The medium itself just can't stand up to other mediums. The critique is actually a critique of the app, not the animator, so framing it like it's a problem of laziness is just shifting the blame away from the real culprit, Lunami. Gacha creators are all of young ages and have just got given the talk and are trying to find ways of dog whistling to their friends that they're in the sex-in crowd. So while I think ThankYouEel's statement is correct, it's also quite outrageous. Definitely could have not been said, or said in another way. But yes, most gacha animations fall into the Zack Snyder brand of sex, and I'd say that ThankYouEel gets the point because I kind of agree with it, but I think he's still wrong. Not all gacha creators are of young ages, and a lot of these plot points don't have the sex thrown in for the sake of it, but because a lot of them are built with sexual assault as the premise. Does gacha have the right to respond to sexual assault? Personally, I don't think so, but that's not the question or the argument that ThankYouEel was making or asking. He's arguing that gacha animations with sex in them are inherently just edgy children.
The world will look up and shout, "Save us." And I'll whisper, "No."
Putting the name above a character's head makes the story worse and is the fault of the gacha tuber. I don't like how ThankYouEel insinuates that the very limited design of gacha is the fault of the animator. If the app doesn't let you turn off a character's name, it's not the animator's fault, it's Lunami's fault. I would argue that if your app doesn't let you do something this major, use a better app. But for some gacha tubers, that's just not possible. All their friends are on this app. They have a sense of community here. It's easy enough. They don't want a learning curve for learning another app. Even something that's better is still going to be a bit harder. Screenshotting dress-up pictures is a concept anybody can understand. Gacha is inherently so easy that it's very hard to leave. Luckily, you actually can turn off the names. ThankYouEel is an idiot. ThankYouEel thought it was the animator's fault that you couldn't turn it off. If you couldn't turn it off, it's the app's fault. But you can. So sure, ThankYouEel was right and it's the animator's fault. However, he was critiquing it for something which was not even true. I was pretending to believe him so that I could say why his point was rubbish, when really, he wasn't even correct in the first place. He has done so little research. I was man, dude, sorry. ThankYouEel's done so little research in this video. Like, it's painful to me. It's just painful. As for how names make the story worse, I think in some cases it could be argued that it does make the story better. I don't think any of his points about spoilers really stand up to any kind of scrutiny. Like, you can tell someone is royalty just by looking at them. Having King Duncan at the top of their name just makes it more clear on who Duncan is. I think it would just help you understand the story more than having to wait for someone to address that person as Duncan by name. And a baby, having a name before they're given one is not a big deal. Most of the time you know a character's name on a blurb anyway. I haven't played Cyberpunk yet, but I know Keanu Reeves' character is called Johnny Silverhand. Okay, cool. So he might as well have just had a name above his head in the trailers and it would make no difference to my current perspective, right? Okay, sure, I'm making the strawman argument here. That's not what Eel's implying. Of all things, it makes for more efficient storytelling.
Script economy. If I wanted to give it a name.
Minor inconsistencies and criticisms of the animation style. All animation has mistakes, dummy. I make mistakes. Here's an unlisted Discord exclusive where my hand changes position in between cuts. Here's a really badly drawn leg from my G54 video I never fixed. I could go on. Critique the plot holes, please. While critiquing animation is valid, everything has mistakes. The problems with the walk cycle are the fault of the app, and the characters not wearing shoes. Yeah, I'm sure you feel really smart for noticing that, but let's put on my brain-diving detective hat and find out why he made this statement. Hold, I need to go get my brain-diving detective hat. Be right back. I thought that I had like a Sherlock Holmes hat, but I just have this fedora, so... I'm not gonna use this either.
And the main characters often walk around school without shoes.
So, ThankYouEel made this point because he'd only seen 2 or 3 gacha animation videos by this point, and they were all by the same person pretty much, so he was no expert. He just saw 2 videos, noticed they didn't have shoes because they were by the same person, and he figured a large majority of gacha animations were like that. Cause yeah, it's not as if nuance exists, or maybe one person can make a very exclusive mistake. No, it's definitely indicative of a larger whole, definitely. Like, I'm just spitballing here, but maybe there's more than one gacha animator. You never know.
She got horns like a devil pointed at me, and there's nowhere to run from the fire she breathes. She got horns like a devil pointed at me, and there's nowhere to run from the fire she breathes. She got horns like a devil pointed at me, and there's nowhere to run from the fire she breathes. Horns like a devil pointed at me. She got
2 little horns and they give me a little bit.
Category 2. The Fault of Lunami. Surprisingly, considering how much I bash Lunami in later videos, he barely comes up in the original video. ThankYouEel didn't really do any research before making this video, just watched 1 or 2 gacha videos, so the fact that a problem could be because of the app's designer didn't really stick out to him. So, despite my opinion that a lot of what ThankYouEel framed as the animator's fault was actually Lunami's fault, I'm still gonna have to say the only argument he outright made that blamed the app designer was this one. Gacha as an app has no ability to use easing in animations.
Easing, also called slow in and slow out. This can be imagined with a car. You start the car, and it starts at 1 kilometer per hour. Then it goes to 2, then 5, then 20, then 60. You don't turn the key and then instantly start going to 100. You ease in. Oh, so sorry. I forgot we need to save time. All objects lose the ability to accelerate.
And the problem is I can't critique it. This is true. Gacha is a terribly designed app. The only refute is the stupid one Gacha tubers use that, well, it's an animatic, not an animations. We don't label ourselves as animations, which yes, you do. You 100% do that. That's what you all do. So yeah, I'm gonna have to give this point to ThankYouEel because he was correct, but I also agree with it. So technically, I didn't lose this debate. Big brain.
She won't let go till it's scarred.
Category 3, the fault of ThankYouEel. Making YouTube content has to be good. Spicy take here. I think making art for the sake of art has less merit than other art. Hey, I drew a cow because I like cows, and hey, I drew a deep self-portrait showing my dwindling mental state, themes, metaphors, etc., etc. There's no comparison to say which one is better by any standards. Art is always art, but obviously the deep one with all the metaphors and the similes and the big words that critics use to describe it, that would be considered as better since it has a lot of meaning behind it, unlike some guy who likes cows who just drew a cow. But I don't think that a painting of a cow done just to draw a cow is meaningless art. That's art as well, because nothing is inherently meaningless, I don't think. I mean, not all art has to be assigned meaning, unlike what ThankYouEel wants you to think. A drawing of a cow make a little kid giggle. It may have brought happiness to the creator. It may be that the process of creating art is fun in itself, and that process is what gives the art meaning, because just to the creator, that art is a reminder of the fun memories that happened while creating that art. ThankYouEel in this video is of the opinion that if you make something that says nothing, it is worth nothing. I was recently in a play that I did not like being in at all. It meant nothing. It stood for nothing and said nothing. I hated it. I hated my character. I hated how playing that character made me feel. As a person, I felt gross having to play that character. I had a deep remorse for not quitting in week 1. I got out of the meaningless play and realized I had ascribed value to it that nobody else had. The play said nothing and actively made me feel bad. But it let some kids show their parents their skill and what they learned this year. Could I have written a better play? Absolutely, yes. But would it have been better if it made the audience consider things? No, I don't think so. A play that means nothing and shows off skill, and a play that means something and shows off skill, at some point, you can only appreciate something so much. And the reason that people saw this play wasn't to think of things, wasn't to contemplate the human condition, it was to see their child get up on stage and act their little heart out, get off stage, and get a little award for it. So I don't think that ascribing meaning to that play would have done it any favors. I mean, would it have been better? Sure. Would it not be bad? Sure. But would it have been good? No. Would it have been more appreciated? And could someone argue, from the audience's standpoint, that since nobody contemplated the art, that it also had no artistic merit? I think someone could argue that. I think there's a certain limit where your audience doesn't want to think about things, and that piece of work can't hold up to real artistic merit, but that doesn't mean it's meaningless. YouTube content should be entertaining to get people to watch it, or it should teach me something, or change my mind, but just because most gacha animations aren't outstanding art films that had me emotionally invested, doesn't mean that the entirety of gacha as a genre is just Troom or 5-minute crafts or other content farms. Gacha has artistic merit. It means something to people. It's a sense of community. It's a way to vent. And saying someone has to improve their work so they're worthy in your eyes is bad. I'm sorry, I can't actually do this point justice, to be honest. Just right now, pause the video, go to Steam, play the beginner's guide. It's $10. It's everything I've been trying to say for the past minute, just in one. You'll love it, alright? Please, play the beginner's guide right now.
By Joves, my good fellow, that was hella pretentious.
Gacha characters are inherently ugly. If this was a regular critique video, I'd say that ThankYouEel was giving a biased, subjective argument. Some people are evidently attracted to these characters for some reason.
Oh my gosh. What is this Google search for the Japanese term fujoshi doing here? It's totally irrelevant to my point. Oh no. I'm gonna have to close this now. Oh no, I accidentally I googled it like a second time. Oh no, I'm totally not making a point right now. I'm not. Oh no, oh my goodness, this is a travesty.
However, I'm actually in the unique position of being the original creator, so I can actually tell you why I made this statement. The characters are overbearing and garish, and personally, ThankYouEel finds the chibi anime style to be quite babyish and unable to evoke much emotion other than embarrassment and cringe. ThankYouEel doesn't say it, but in his head he likens the problem with gacha character designs to the same problem with the movie Cars.
Yeah, it looks about the same to me.
This may come as a surprise, but Cars cannot emote. Oh wait, no, not like that. Pixar is a highly emotive studio, and they picked a subject matter that just can't interact with objects, can't pick things up, can barely move. It has to break the laws of physics just to be able to point at something. It reminds me of a certain app starting with G and rhyming with larger. Gacha's chibi style can't emote in the same way a human can, so it's just left as Pixar's Cars. However, just because I can see why I made this point doesn't mean I agree with it. Characters can be overbearing and garish, but the keyword is can. Characters can be very down-to-earth, and just because we don't like the anime style doesn't mean that others don't. This argument is subjective, and so while I won't say it's invalid, I will say that it shouldn't be framed as a fault of the app or the anime.